Darktide is a brutal first-person co-op shooter set in the grim dark hive city of Tertium within the Warhammer 40k universe. I've delved deep into the pre-order beta, and after spending more than 40 hours in the game and trying out every class, here are the 5 things that I hate about Darktide. The way this game has been launched has been a bit of a fuck up. Performance of the game, particularly in the first weekend after the launch of the pre-order beta, was pretty shocking. The game crashed regularly. Matchmaking, the only way to get into a game, was down for long periods. Initially the game started with just 4 missions to play, making the experience very repetitive. Yes, it was a beta and not the finished product, but its rocky start would have put many people off playing the game if they jumped in early. Waiting until the game was in a better state and providing a fuller roster of missions would have been a much better approach in my opinion. The limited number of missions also has a major impact on how grindy the game feels. With the initial 4 missions, it is fair to say that I was running the same missions again and again and again. On full launch this will have been expanded to 13, but even this leaves me doubtful that players will stick around once they have reached level 30. Yes, the gameplay is great, the zones are incredibly atmospheric, but running the same missions again and again is going to feel very repetitive and grindy, particularly for solo players. Layered onto this is what feels like slow class progression. You gain a new feat every 5 levels, so 6 feats up to the max level. What made this feel slow to me is that individually each feat does not fundamentally change how the game plays or how powerful your character feels. It is only when you add near to a full build that you really start to see a difference. For example, Blood and Thunder adds a bleed stack onto the Ogren's heavy attack, but you then have to wait 10 levels to get Bloodthirst, which provides some excellent damage resistance, and a further 10 levels before you get Bull Gore, making this a very powerful combination. Gaining a feat should feel significant, and at lower levels it really doesn't. Linked to this is that the classes feel quite shallow. Each class has one ability. So fundamentally the gameplay is purely melee and range fighting with the occasional ability use which then goes on to cooldown. Feats do add some depth but within the constraints of this simple gameplay loop. On top of that you are limited to 1 melee and 1 range weapon at a time. This feels incredibly limiting, particularly when trying out a new weapon which you are then stuck with until the mission ends. For classes like the Psyker, which is the Darktide's equivalent of a magic user, having multiple abilities would have made perfect sense, and it does in some respect, with Brain Burst replacing the grenade that other classes have. But of course, you then don't have a grenade. I was generally unimpressed by the weapon options that we have seen so far. With the odd exception, they all feel a little bland. I don't mean this in how they feel to use, as the gunplay and melee both feel solid and meaty. I get that they need to be consistent with the Warhammer 40k universe, but when a legendary weapon looks the same as its common counterpart, just with better stats, it doesn't fill me with much excitement or desire to grind for the gear. Surely they could have introduced some custom weapons,
and don't call me Shirley,
that reflect the extremes of this fanatical hive city and that look fucking awesome. Darktide is a co-op game, and this leads to my biggest gripe. Playing solo sucks. You're always grouped up with other players, and the goal then seems to be to rush through the content as quickly as possible. There's no time to take in the scenery, to explore the wonderful detail in every nook and cranny of this game. In addition, tackling harder content when in a match-made group is going to be tough going. This is a real problem when attempting to complete contracts for SIML. These contracts reward currencies used to purchase high-end loot. You will still be able to complete some of the contract, but it will make slow going, leaving you significantly behind people playing with friends. But it is not all doom and gloom. There is a lot to love about this game. Find out what shines brighter than the Emperor in this video here.